Do you agree with this
Why are
explanation?
there rich countries and why are there rich countries and why are there poor countries?
Oh, I already know the whole answer he's going to give. The reason why there are rich countries is because white people in the rich countries a long time ago went and exploited all the poor countries. And now the poor countries are forever poor because rich countries continue to exploit the poor countries. Did I get that right? Let's check. Hold on.
We like to think that rich countries are developed and poor countries are underdeveloped and they just need more time to catch up. A lot of this has to do with how everything started. Colonialism and imperialism.
How am I so smart, dude? I would make a great progressive. I know all the talking points. I bet I could explain it better than these guys too.
Gave Western countries the startup capital to be where they are at today. And they got this startup capital from robbing resources from the poor countries and stealing all of their human resource in the form of slave labor. But let's put all that aside for a moment. What are the forces right now that are perpetuating this cycle of impoverished countries?
The forces right now, I'm gonna have to say global trade and our demand for cheap goods and services from other countries. Global trade. Oh, and who? What was the old the World Bank? Is that it? What's the name of the bank that would like make loans to countries that people get really mad about? Why can't I remember this right now? Oh, the IMF. That's it. It's going to be the West's demand for cheap goods and the IMF. That's my guess. Those two. I don't think he might not mention the IMF, but we'll see.
Countries. A huge factor in this is the World Bank.
How do I know? I pre-watched. I watched this. I watched this yesterday because how else would I just know everything in their minds? How else would I not know? How I couldn't possibly be this good, right? I couldn't possibly be this good.
And the International Monetary Fund.
I couldn't possibly be this good. That's not. You can't make calls like that without pre-watching. I must have pre-watched it. I pre-watched it yesterday. I'm admitting it to you. I pre-watched it yesterday. I must have. I had to have.
The IMF. These are basically the banks of the world. Their goal is
to loan money to small countries that they know could never pay it back. And then when they're unable to pay it back, they go in and they steal everything, and then they give it to the larger countries for them to work the lands. It's basically the new form of slavery or indentured servitude. Let's see.
To abolish poverty. So they offer loans to poor countries to help lift them out of poverty. But these loans have some pretty big stipulations. The World Bank and the IMF prohibit poor countries from nationalizing their resources. Why would they want to do this?
So we can go in and take them.
They don't want these poor governments to have control over the resources. They want to keep it in the hands of foreign investors and corporations.
I could write these. I could script these videos. If you're a progressive, you want to make content online, just message me. I'll write the scripts for it. I can do it, guys. I can write these scripts all day.
That are mostly owned by the United States and Western countries. These loans ensure that those resources will not go to benefit the public of those poor countries. Also, these loans prohibit these countries from subsidizing their own resources because they say it'll be unfair in the global market. The loans are subprime, meaning they have very high interest rates, and they may never ever be paid.
What are the actual arguments against this, though? My understanding is that the IMF used to make loans like this, but because we were genuinely trying to help other countries. But then I think we realized that this is kind of a dog shit way to help other countries. And I believe, Econoboy was on, I talked about this last time. I believe that our approach to global finance has changed pretty significantly in the past like 15 years. And the IMF doesn't really make loans like this anymore because it wasn't helping countries as much as it was purported to initially.
Paid off. So these governments spend a huge part of their national revenue paying off loans. Guess where the World Bank and the IMF are headquartered?
Where are they headquartered? Is it going to be the United States or is it going to be Brussels? It's one of those two.
They're in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, they're okay. DC, yeah.
Guess who has most of the control over these banks?
The Jews? No, I'm just kidding. America?
The United States.
Yeah, okay.
Guess what country decided that it's okay for them to subsidize their exports to have an unfair advantage in the global market?
The United States?
The United States.
Okay.
Poor countries are kept back by...
Aren't we generally prohibited from subsidizing certain goods? Don't we actually get into lots of fights with the World Trade Organization over subsidization of goods and stuff? Aren't we technically not supposed to do that on exports? I know we end up fighting on some of this, but I don't know the exact stipulations of what is or isn't allowed. I'd have to check that.
by the chains of debt. And it's actually poor countries that develop rich countries, not the other way around. Poverty is not foreordained. It is deliberate, it is by design, and it is manufactured.
God, my brain is so huge. I don't know how my brain is so huge.